What do you think of when I say the term Spider Society? Do you think of a society as spider-themed superheroes who join together to withstand any threat? Or do you picture thousands of newly hatched spiders who are just hiding behind your toilet? Well, I hope I've just ruined pissing for you, because today I'm going to be talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. After having stopped Kingpin and his reality-tearing collider, teenage Spider-Man Miles Morales, played by Shamik Moore, finds himself at odds with an organization of spider people while attempting to thwart a new threat to the multiverse. All the while, Miles longs to see his spider friends Gwen Stacy, played by Haley Steinfeld, and Peter B. Parker, played by Jake Johnson again, both of whom come from other dimensions. Miles, have you considered biting someone really hard just to see if they also become a spider person? They could be your new spider bestie, given they forgive you for actually biting them, you spider psycho. And before you watch the movie, make sure you're caught up on all Spider-Man media beforehand. That means watching all the Spider-Man movies and TV shows, buying that arm-mounted cum-shot web shooty thingy, and also buying an overpriced Spider-Man suit that we both know stays on in bed. This is part one of a two-part series and a three-part trilogy, which is what a trilogy is. So there's going to be spoilers for at least the first two films. So let's Spider go! I don't know, okay? I'm tired. Shut up. I wanted to say that the movie felt too long, like so many other movies do nowadays. But after 3 viewings, I actually think they managed to condense the overall story into the film down as much as they could, what with it being a two-parter. Did that make sense? Still, movies should be like 2 hours max, guys. Come on. I did not need an extra 30 minutes of swimming lessons. Avatar 2. I went in as blind as possible because the first film is a comfort film for me, right next to Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Yeah, I know, weird movie for a comfort zone, but that book got me back into reading. Read books, people, come on. The audio mixing sucked on the first viewing, but after a second time seeing it a week later, theaters had received a fixed version of the film. I had ended up stroking my ego whenever I got to ask somebody, did you think the movie was a little too loud? The soundtrack was pretty good, but it sort of got drowned out by Spider-Man 2099's music sting. That was the sting. I hope I made a long enough pause for the sting to play out. Honestly, I can't remember a single song title from the film right now. Sorry to the artists and composers who worked really hard on this movie. I am just somebody on YouTube deconstructing the film, however, so the joke's on me. No Toei Spider-Man either, which means he's either going to make a cameo in the third and last film, or we won't even see him in general. I will eat my webbing if we do, though. I enjoyed Spider-Verse 2 a lot more after several more viewings, but even then, I still prefer the first one. The first film had to keep the stakes stuffed down and confined in order to prevent the breaking of the chain's multiversal misconduct that we get to see in the second film. I always knew Sony's Spider-Verse would go big in terms of world building, but I still preferred that the first film was about Miles' universe, with only a few different spider people coming together to knock down Kingpin. Of course, I'll eat my words because the first 10 to 15 minutes of this film, where we get to see where Gwen Stacy came from and what the themes of the film are going to be, was my favorite part overall. I really like that the film opens up with Gwen instead of Miles directly, because then we get to see what motivates and frustrates Gwen Stacy, which is apparently mad drum skills and a deadbeat cop dad. Oh, and keeping the insane secret that she is Spider-Woman from everyone she loves. Damn. Wonder how Miles is doing right now.
Ooh, fancy title card.
I really like Miles. He's always a step ahead of himself, and he struggles with the pressures of being a teen in school while also having to carry the secret responsibility of being his universe's new Spider-Man. I really like Miles' opening fight between him and the Spot as a contrast to the film's emotional opener, but it does sort of make Miles seem a little clumsier since we last saw him a year ago in the timeline. That might just have to do with the fact that he's dealing with a supervillain with a weird power, though, I don't know. Miles' unimpressed and condescending attitude towards the Spot's criminal efforts only encourages the Spot's ego to grow until the bursting point of frustration where he decides the only thing that matters is the destruction of Miles' universe. Wasn't sure how I felt about the Spot becoming the central antagonist on the first viewing. He's kind of nerdy and awkward and geeky and weirdly upbeat for a vengeful supervillain. Before I even saw the movie and I was trying to avoid spoilers leading up to its release, the only marketing or merchandise I saw for it was this toy of the Spot. And I just assumed it was Spider-Man with a pudgy body and he was going to travel
across the Spider-Verse
with Miles in a big villain scavenger hunt. That was what I thought the movie was going to be, and I was completely wrong. After seeing it 2 more times, I felt more content with the Spot being a central antagonist and a mirror to Miles' heroism. Anyone could put on the mask and be a hero, or they can in turn become the villain. It was amusing that the bagel guy from the first film ended up being the ultimate threat. Sometimes all it takes is a bagel to the noggin for you to get pissed the fuck off. Apparently the writers Lord and Miller weren't originally going to use the Spot as the main villain, but producer Avi Arad managed to convince them otherwise. Fun fact, I had to design a suitcase gun just like that one in college. Here it is right here. Pretty cool, right? Just like my diploma right over there. Oh. Right. The self-imposed head of the Spider Society, Miguel, aka Spider-Man 2099, aka My Gender, labels Miles as the anomaly after Miles disrupts one of Spider-Man India's canon events by saving someone apparently meant to die. The movie then decides it wants to be a chase film at that point because the Spot vanishes for the rest of the movie until one last shot towards the end of the film. We also learn that canon events are an event that occurs in a Spider-Person's life that ties them to the Spider-Man legacy, from a loved one dying tragically to a loved one dying tragically. The Spider Society protects the multiverse from anything that could disrupt these canon events, as apparently that will cause that universe to collapse, which is what begins to happen to Spider-Man India's universe.
Oh, look at you, another title card!
Miguel blames Miles for this, projecting his own self-hatred onto him, having caused a collapse once himself. I want to like Miguel more, as he's essentially Cyber Spider-Man, but his evidence as to why universes collapse just isn't convincing enough for me. It happened to me once after I placed a dead version of myself in order to raise his little kid. It just isn't a convincing enough argument for me to join a crazy man. How did Miguel manage to convince all the other Spider people that he was factually correct just based on his one experience? How was Miles the first one to question that? Did all the other Spider people meet Miguel and go, "This sickly, depressed man is very stable and we should trust him without question"? No one questioned him up until this point. No one just went, "Hey, that guy might be really insane, actually." I really do hope that we get more of an arc for Miguel in part 2, part 3, be it heroic or villainous. That would be kind of cool. Oh, he's the baddie. Oh, there's another twisted turny head. Oh, pop out of the hat. What?
That's stupid.
Also, not enough vampire shenanigans from this guy. You're a vampire. Blood, suck, eat, kill.
It sucks.
I feel like I don't need to say a lot about the animation because it's more of a spectacular color vomit fest than the first film. And my eyes love vomit. I really like how experimental the film gets. Small things like when the camera shifts up and down when a Spider-Person tugs their web feels really satisfying. Or scenes like where Miles and the Spot share a vision of what's to come in their future. That scene was really trippy. The film has to differentiate 7 unique universes and does so by giving each universe its own art style. I love that Gwen's universe was a universe of visual emotion. It made everything feel like watercolor paint when a person experienced a new emotion. Things like the walls and the shadows shift into colder color tones in the presence of sadness, but then warm colors will spread back into the scene in the presence of a hug. As an aside, it's fun to compare scenes shared between the first 2 films, like in this scene where Miles is wearing a basketball shirt, while in the original, he's just wearing a plain white t-shirt. My favorite difference, though, is Gwen Stacy's dad between this film and the last film. Man, what a difference. You can tell a sequel was not guaranteed. Oh, and I can't believe that one kid worked on that Lego segment. He must have been thrilled to work on this movie, because this movie was made by the Lego guys. You had me fooled. You know how like 1,000 people worked on this movie? I hope that it was ethical circumstance. I know I'm not the first person to recognize it, but I love that the Spot has pencil lines amongst his features. Kind of shows us that he's breaking the fourth wall as a multi-dimensional supervillain while also being reduced to pencil scratch. It's a good way to break the fourth wall. Speaking of which, the fourth wall. I can't stand the name they gave canon events. Using the word canon is a bit too fourth wall breaking for me, as it just makes the characters feel like they know that they're funny little bugs dancing around on screen. Why not call them something like fated events or destined events, or hell, just go literal with it. A moment in which a Spider-Person experiences a personal tragedy event. Hell, it rolls right off the tongue, off the spinneret, which would be my ass. spit and web. Because there's a seemingly infinite amount of Spider-Verses, that means that there are characters in alternate universes that never died in Miles' universe. As in still kicking. As in they're around still. As in they're making booty. As in Uncle Aaron is not dead.
How many times are you gonna do that?
I'm really conflicted about the bring a character from the first movie back from the dead through a multiversal technicality trope. Miles and his Uncle Aaron's on-screen relationship is one of my favorite examples of on-screen chemistry. Miles and Aaron are both outcasts who want to express themselves, but as a result of doing so, Miles becomes involved in the first film's plot thanks to his Uncle Aaron's mean old nasty kingpin side gig as Miles Tails the Prowler. Uncle Aaron's spoilers! Death feels earned when it finally comes because he had to make a split-second decision. It may have cost him his life, but it did save his nephew from being killed by Kingpin. With part 2, it just feels like it's meant to be shock value. Uncle Aaron's reveal just kind of feels cheap. Like this is a different dude altogether. It's not the guy we're familiar with. By the way, my cat, you can't see him right now, but he's literally laying at my feet. So he's kind of like my marker unless he decides to move. I guess they can get away with it since it's not like they literally brought Uncle Aaron back from the dead like a goddamn zombie. This is an alternate universe where Spider-Man never existed and Uncle Aaron never died, instead training Miles to become Prowler, presumably after this Miles' father died. I do like alternate universe Miles as the Prowler though. He reminds me a lot of Kamen Rider, but like one of the edgy ones that works as a dark reflection of the protagonist. If you've never heard of Kamen Rider, think Power Rangers, but instead of fighting giant monsters, they kick each other's asses and drive dual sport motorbikes instead. Hell, in the first film, the Prowler drives a motorbike that looks exactly like the original 1974 Kamen Rider's motorbike. Whose is this? What? How did this get here? This is not mine? My god, what a shameful display of immaturity. How disgusting and infantile. Ugh. What else is interesting about the Prowler of Universe 42 is that he might not actually be a bad guy. This may be beyond the Spider-Verse spoilers, but that movie got delayed thanks to the SAG-AFTRA strike writers. But according to this scene in which the Prowler and somebody else is swinging through the city, he might be looking to just support people through crazy city trapezing. Damn, I want to go city trapezing. I've never been trapezing, nor do I think you can just go trapezing, but I really just needed to think of a bullshit way to trapeze into a transition. Multiverse of thoughts!
I knew it!
I'm happy that this movie and its brethren will inevitably exist, and I will watch them tenfold, but I still wish we only got the first one. These films were always about the multiverse stuff, but even then, I find myself glazed over in this film due to all the other multiverse right now. And like I said, the first movie is one of my favorite movies, but at the same time, the scope was still smaller. Multiverses can be fun, but they can also really overcomplicate things because they remove limitations. Making sounds fun in theory, but all it does is end up making the film feel unfocused and a little bloated as a result. I'm exhausted by multiverse media. It's in movies, it's in video games, it's in books that are not very good at all. They follow this trend that I think the MCU set an unexpected precedent for. I'm tired of it! I am glad that despite the amount of multiverse stuff going on right now, this series still stays focused on Miles, while also dipping into characters like Gwen in order to open doors for more personal experiences.
Just quit it already! It's a YouTube video!
Now, Gwen is supposed to be getting her own spin-off film at some point, which I find I'm more excited for than Spider-Man 3. But despite that, I really like what we saw of her in this movie. We get to see Gwen become a part of the main plot right away after her police captain father nearly arrests her after an incident involving a canon event's near disruption. In that scene, we see her reveal her identity to him in order to prove her innocence, but to no avail. He still decides he's going to arrest her. But later on, near the end of the film, after Gwen's been banished from Spider Society for involving Miles, she discovers that her dad left the police force due to his immense regret over losing her that night. According to the Spider-Verse canon, police captains are supposed to die, but because Gwen's father stepped down from the police force, he's no longer a captain, which Gwen realizes means that fate can be changed. The same realization occurs to Miles during the bullet train escape. We are supposed to write our own stories wherever we want to go. I love Gwen's arc, not only because we get to explore more of her character, but because it sets up the film's theme of finding our place in society while also protecting those we love. Gwen and Miles both have learned a lot about being spider people and a lot about themselves as well. This is the perfect arc to end the movie on because now both characters have the resolve they need in order to succeed. Oh, and Gwen is trans. Fuck you. I want a Spider-Woman suit too, goddammit. It took me a couple of viewings to appreciate it, but at the end of the day, I know I love this movie. I stand by the fact that I still think we just needed the one movie, but I'm on board for whatever the hell the third one's going to be whenever that comes out. Also, respect to the filmmakers for not making me sit through all of the credits to watch a post-credit scene, because all anyone needed to end this movie on was "to be continued." All except the teenagers in my theater, at least. I don't think that they knew going into this that this was the beginning of a two-parter, because they screamed their guts out when it said "to be continued." I would suggest doing a little bit of Googling before the movie, guys. Thanks for watching. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm serious. Could you share this too? I've decided I need to make goals for myself. Wow, goal-oriented. I'm gonna make more videos. I'm gonna do this when I'm hungry. I'm gonna do this when I'm sad. I'm just gonna make videos. I need to get out of my head about it. I would appreciate it because, you know, a little kid in me still kind of wants to do a video thing. And if you want to help me out, that would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. I don't know who that was. Me? I don't know. Snake. Snake would appreciate it. Hey, if you want to help out Snake, like, comment, and subscribe below. This is Snake. I'm quite hungry. All right, bye-bye.